Before you scroll past this, pause for a moment, because this message might be reaching you at a time when you didn't even realize how much you needed to hear it. Maybe no one around you fully understands what you've been carrying lately. Maybe you've gotten so used to holding everything together that people assume you're fine. But if you've been quietly fighting battles that no one else can see, then this message is for you. Take a breath and stay with me for a moment, because what you're feeling right now might not be what you think it is. You've been holding it together longer than anyone realizes, and not in a dramatic way either, in the quiet way, the kind of strength that doesn't announce itself, the kind that doesn't ask for applause or recognition, the kind that doesn't broadcast its struggles to the world. It's the quiet strength that simply keeps showing up, day after day, moment after moment, even when your heart feels exhausted, even when your hope feels worn thin, like a thread that's been pulled too many times, even when part of you wonders how much longer you can keep carrying what you've been carrying. And lately, there have been days where you wake up already feeling shattered, not because you didn't sleep, but because your spirit hasn't truly rested in a very long time. You've been carrying things that most people can't see, silent prayers whispered into the darkness, thoughts you've lifted toward a higher power that still seem to echo without an answer, hopes you've held onto even when the world around you quietly suggested it might be easier to let them go. There are unfinished chapters in your life right now, stories that paused before the ending arrived, paths that once felt clear, but now feel confusing and uncertain. And there are questions you don't even ask out loud anymore, not because you stopped caring, but because part of you is afraid of what the silence might say back, afraid that maybe the answer hasn't arrived yet, afraid that maybe you misunderstood something along the way, afraid that maybe the universe you trusted to guide you somehow lost sight of you. And still, you're here. You're still breathing, still trying, still showing up for life, even when it feels heavy. And there is something deeply important about that, something powerful about the fact that you didn't disappear when things became difficult. Because what you've been experiencing lately isn't random chaos. It isn't punishment. It isn't proof that you're falling behind in life. It isn't evidence that you've been forgotten. And it certainly isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. What you're feeling right now is something far more meaningful. It's pressure before release. It's the quiet transformation that happens before a breakthrough finally arrives. You were never meant to understand every single step while you were inside the process. Because if you did, it wouldn't shape you the way it needs to. Real growth rarely announces itself when it begins. It doesn't knock on your door with clarity and celebration. Growth feels like confusion. It feels like absolute chaos. It feels like endings you didn't ask for. It feels like doors closing that you once believed were meant to stay open. It feels like standing in a place where the old version of your life no longer fits, but the new one hasn't appeared yet. And that space, that uncomfortable, uncertain, aching middle, that is exactly where you are right now. It's the space between what was and what will be. And yes, it can feel incredibly lonely. But here's the part most people never realize until much later. This middle space is where the transformation actually happens. It's where the old version of you slowly dissolves, so the stronger version can emerge. And despite everything you've been facing, you didn't break during this season. You bent, you adjusted, you adapted in ways you probably didn't even know you were capable of. You kept your heart open when it would have been easier to close it. You chose kindness when bitterness would have been understandable. You stayed honest when shortcuts tempted you to take the easier road. You chose truth, even when everyone around you seemed more comfortable choosing convenience. And that kind of integrity does not go unnoticed, even when it feels invisible. There are moments when it seems like everything you carefully built is being quietly dismantled. Plans falling apart, timelines dissolving, people drifting away from your life without explanation, doors closing that you once believed were meant for you. And when all of that happens at once, it can feel deeply unfair, because you weren't careless. You tried. You showed up. You put in the effort. You prayed. You waited longer than you ever wanted to. You believed when it would have been easier to walk away. So when things still fall apart, it can feel confusing. But here's a truth that many people only understand after the breakthrough finally arrives. Sometimes things aren't falling apart. Sometimes they're simply falling out of the way. What you're walking through right now is preparation, but preparation rarely looks the way we expect it to. Instead, it looks like delay. It looks like frustration. It looks like a crisis. It looks like standing still while the rest of the world seems to be moving forward without you. But the universe does not rush what is meant to last, and God does not release blessings into hands that haven't yet learned how to hold them gently. You are being refined, not rejected. There's a reason your patience was tested instead of your strength, a reason your heart had to stretch instead of harden, a reason you had to sit inside uncertainty instead of being handed instant answers. Because what's coming into your life isn't fragile, it isn't temporary, and it isn't something you'll have to constantly fight to keep. The truth is, the version of you from a year ago might not have known how to receive it. There have been nights where you stared at the ceiling, wondering if relief will ever arrive. Mornings where hope feels quieter than it used to. Moments where you question whether you misunderstood the timing of your life. Or worse, whether you misunderstood your purpose entirely. But listen carefully to this part. The universe does not awaken sincere desires in your heart just to tease you with them. It does not lead people this far just to abandon them in the middle of the journey. And it certainly doesn't allow you to grow through all of this for nothing. What you've been walking through may actually be the final stretch, even if it doesn't feel like it yet, because the hardest seasons rarely end with fireworks. Most of the time, they end with something quieter, a gentle shift, a conversation that unexpectedly changes everything, an opportunity that appears when you least expect it, a sense of peace replacing the anxiety that once lived inside you, a door opening so softly you almost miss it, until you realize your life has finally started moving again. This is where trust becomes real, not the kind people talk about, the kind people live, the kind you practice when nothing around you seems to make sense. Trust when you don't have proof yet. Trust when the evidence feels thin. Trust when the only honest thing you can say is, I don't see it yet, but I'm still here. That kind of faith carries more power than you realize, because there is something quietly approaching your life right now, a blessing that will make this waiting make sense, not because the pain was required, but because you were willing to stay open through it. And when it finally arrives, you won't have to chase it. You won't have to force it. You won't have to convince anyone that it belongs in your life. You'll simply recognize it, because it will feel like peace. It will feel aligned. It will feel like something finally settling into place, instead of something being forced together. You didn't imagine the resistance. You didn't imagine the delay. And you certainly didn't imagine that quiet inner voice that keeps whispering inside you that something is about to change. That feeling is real. This is not the end of your patience being tested. This is the beginning of your endurance being rewarded. And when things finally begin to work out, they won't just work out in small ways. They will work out in ways you never could have planned, because your mind would have aimed lower than what life actually had prepared for you. That's why surrender matters. That's why timing matters. And that's why God's timing matters. So there's no need to rush anymore. Before you leave this moment, pause for a second. Don't rush past these words the way we sometimes rush past our own feelings. Just take a brief moment with yourself. Breathe in slowly, and let the noise of the world settle for a moment. Because sometimes a single quiet pause can remind you of something your heart has been trying to tell you all along. Anchor this truth inside yourself, not as a passing thought, not as a hopeful idea that fades the moment life becomes difficult again, but as something steady, something real, something you choose to stand on when things around you feel uncertain. Anchor it deeply, not silently, not vaguely, but intentionally. Make it a moment of decision. Write it somewhere you can see it. Say it out loud so your own voice hears it. Let the words carry weight. Let them become a declaration instead of a wish. Let them remind you that your journey is not random, and your timing is not a mistake. Say it with clarity. Say it with belief. Say it like a promise you are making to yourself. I trust the timing of my life, not because everything has made sense so far, not because every plan has unfolded exactly the way you imagined, not because the road has been easy, but because you are choosing to believe that there is meaning in the path you are walking. This is not a wish. It is not a fragile hope that disappears the moment something goes wrong. It is a choice. a decision to trust that the chapters still being written in your life are moving you towards something meaningful, even when you cannot see the full picture yet. And if this message reached you at exactly the moment you needed it, if these words found you during a quiet moment of doubt, if something inside your chest softened while you were listening, then maybe you weren't meant to hear this alone. Maybe someone else in your life needs the same reminder. Someone who has been quietly caring more than they admit. Someone who has been holding everything together without asking for recognition. Someone who shows strength on the outside but feels tired on the inside. Share this message with that person. Send it to someone who might be silently struggling right now. Someone who hasn't complained. Someone who rarely talks about what they're going through. Someone who keeps showing up for everyone else, even when their own heart feels heavy. Someone who has been strong for a very long time, and who might be starting to wonder if anyone notices. Because sometimes the universe works in quiet, unexpected ways. Sometimes it places the right words in the right hands at the exact moment someone needs them most. And sometimes you become the messenger without even realizing it. Sometimes the encouragement someone else has been praying for arrives through you, through a message you share, through a few words you pass along, through a moment of kindness that reminds someone they are not alone. And you never know how much that can mean to a person who has been holding their pain in silence. And remember this, there are moments in life when it feels like nothing is moving forward. Moments when every effort seems to stall. Moments when it seems like the doors you hoped would open remain closed. But sometimes during those exact moments, life is quietly rearranging things behind the scenes. Opportunities are aligning, paths are being cleared, lessons are finishing their work inside you, and the things meant for you are slowly finding their way into place. Right when it feels like nothing is working, something may already be preparing to change. Life may already be setting the stage for a moment that surprises you in ways you never expected. A moment that makes the waiting feel worthwhile. A moment that reminds you why you held on. A moment where things finally begin to make sense. So hold on a little longer. Stay patient with the process that is still unfolding around you. Stay gentle with yourself while you continue walking forward. Trust that the chapters still ahead of you may contain moments far greater than the ones behind you. Because the story you are living right now is not finished. Not even close. There are still pages left to turn. Still moments waiting to happen. Still blessings that have not yet arrived. And sometimes the most beautiful parts of the story come just after the chapter that felt the hardest to survive. So keep going, keep believing, keep trusting the timing of your life, because your story is not over yet.